What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA, and yeah, as you can see, we're getting 2023 started out the right way, okay? With stupid people making stupid comments. I mean, this one is just a baffling choice by this guy, this She-Hulk writer, who's calling out critics of the Disney Plus show. I'm constantly at a loss for words, because it's the same thing that the She-Hulk writers themselves were doing, Jessica Gao and those guys. It's the same exact nonsense that they were doing, where they're trying to call people out, and what they end up doing is just owning themselves. It's just like, I'm like, what? Just keep your mouth shut, okay? You was better off just letting people just write this show off and just slink away into the corner and try to do better next time, okay? And then this guy comes out unrequested on Twitter and just starts making stupid comments all over the place. We're going to go ahead and look at those, but let's just quickly check this out. This is on the direct. So She-Hulk's comic writer Dan Slott called out critics of the Disney Plus show inspired by his work in a tweet on Sunday. Slott wrote the She-Hulk series in the early 2000s, a run that served as a primary inspiration for the MCU's 2022 series She-Hulk Attorney at Law on Disney Plus. Now, that's why this guy is out here defending this trash, okay? Because it's a direct reflection of his trash. Makes all the sense in the world, okay? Because this dude came out of absolutely nowhere throwing shade at the fans and, trying to talk trash about him and all of that stuff, right? The run introduced characters such as Augustus Pug Puglisi and Mallory Book, both of whom appeared on the show. Additionally, the series put Jennifer Walters in the position of practicing superhuman law, the main focus of the Disney Plus show. Throughout the show's weekly airing of episodes, Slott was its biggest proponent, tweeting his praise after every episode. Similarly, the show demonstrated its own gratitude to Slott by giving him a special thanks credit in each episode of the first season, as well as a reference and a homage in the 7th episode. So Slott calls out the She-Hulk critics. Okay, so here's what he did. All right, so here's what he said. He posted this on Twitter. Anyone who's saying the She-Hulk official TV show wasn't comic accurate. I'm the guy who has written more issues of She-Hulk than anyone. I've read every single comic from every She-Hulk run. And I'm saying, for the record, it is the most comic book accurate show in the MCU. Who cares? Is the show any good? I don't care if it is the absolute most spot-on comic book show that's ever been done in the history of anything. Is it good? Okay, because that's the only thing that ultimately matters. Is it any good? All right? And the fact that you're sitting up here defending this, all it does is just point out how terrible your run was, okay? I mean, look, and I've said this several times, and it bears repeating here. Just because something was in the comics, that don't mean anything, okay? Something being in the comics don't mean shit, okay? You're saying, oh, it's the most comic book accurate show in the MCU. So what? There's a lot of bad comic books out there. Apparently, you wrote a lot of them. I mean, good God almighty. And let me say this. Let's talk about this adhering to the source material, all right? Let's start with this. Let's address this, all right? Comic books are different from, let's say, novels, okay? Where a novel is mostly a closed-off world. It's a story from beginning to end, and the characterizations and everything are pretty much the only characterizations you get. It's one writer, one person wrote this novel, and that's just the way it is. But comic books allow, as this guy is even mentioning here, is that it has different runs, okay? Different variations of the character. And usually, within those comic runs, there's kind of one definitive version of that character that everybody just admits, yeah, that's the character right there. That's She-Hulk, that's Hulk, that's Spider-Man, that's Batman, that's Superman. There's one definitive version. There could be a million different runs, but there's kind of one definitive version that everybody says, that's the guy, okay? When we're talking about the character. So if we ever get a movie or a television show about this character, we expect to see that kind of definitive run, that definitive character, okay? That's what most comic fans would expect. The one that kind of stands out as the best version. For me, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s when I was reading comic books. And John Byrne's run is kind of the run that I remember, okay? The Sensational SheHulk, okay? That's kind of what most people would say is the definitive version of She-Hulk. This run back in the late 80s, early 90s. This guy after posting this, literally got a post stating out, no one's saying the show isn't comic accurate, pal. Love the goalpost moving because the whole show isn't comic accurate talking point has been going on for months from people who clearly have never read She-Hulk. Like, honestly, I I never made that argument myself because I'm just going off the show. The show was trash, all right? The show was absolutely terrible, all right? So to me, it didn't really matter if it was accurate to the comics or not. I was looking at it as a show, and the show was horrible, okay? And for those that were saying it, they were probably saying, yeah, it's not comic accurate to the most beloved and definitive version of the character. It's not accurate to that, all right? And I didn't find anything that reminded me of She-Hulk when I was watching this show. All right, the She-Hulk that I read when I was coming up. I didn't find anything necessarily that I liked. But I was ready to admit, okay, I haven't read every She-Hulk comic that has ever existed, okay? I stopped reading somewhere in the mid-90-ish, era. All right, so yeah, all of his stuff, I never would have saw that. So for me, personally, and for a lot of other people, it was just about the show. Is the show good? Is the show interesting? Is the show something that would make me want to go and pick up a She-Hulk comic? I can tell you absolutely hell no. People upset over She-Hulk twerking for fun with a celebrity that she liked. Somehow have no problem with Tony Stark having a stripper pole in his private jet in Iron Man 1 with women Tony Stark was paying to dance for his pleasure. Spared me this newfound outrage. Well, Jen Walters came off as, I want to be respected as a woman, a career woman. I have a career. I'm a lawyer. I'm not just some bimbo on a stripper pole. I don't want to be seen as a sex object getting catcalled out in the street. You had all of that initially in the first couple of episodes of the show, that Jen Walters is a woman to be taken seriously. She has a job. She didn't want to hang out with Bruce. She wanted to get back to her job, her work. She's a serious business woman, right? A career woman. She knows what she's doing, right? And then like 2 episodes later, she's over here wiggling her ass on the show. Like no different than these bimbos that's dancing around the stripper pole, okay? So it's like, it's hard to take the character and all of her little messages seriously. It's just hard to take them seriously. And yeah, I understand it's a comedy and this is supposed to be funny. Oh, Jen Walters and Meg Thee Stallion shaking their tails on TV. Oh, it's hilarious, right? But again, it's no different than this, okay? And see, this fits Tony Stark's character. We know Tony Stark is a womanizer. We understand who his character is. That's how he starts off in Iron Man 1. And then he kind of grows from that, right? He kind of grows into this different character, okay? And, we respect the growth, okay? Yeah, he started out one way, but he ended a different way. Jen started out kind of like, yeah, I'm a serious businesswoman. And then she kind of devolves into like some chick shaking her tail, wiggling her butt like some bimbo, right? No difference in the bimbos in this plane, just shaking her tail. I mean, that's basically what she ends up becoming, right? Which is funny. Again, I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know if I should be taking this character seriously or not. I kind of didn't because of the way that the character was written. This is the real point, right? That we got a 33% audience score for this stupid show. And I think that's really the issue. That's the reason why this guy is upset. Okay, because as the direct said, this show was primarily influenced by his work. Okay, not even John Byrne for that matter. It was his work. Okay, this show. So, he's probably feeling kind of offended that everybody hates your work. Okay, that's why I said like this dude basically just kind of owns himself. This is the reason why this dude is defending this trash. Okay, because it's his trash. It's his trash that he's got to defend. Like, he's just basically owned himself. Out of nowhere, nobody was paying attention to this fool. And he's saying, yeah, I'm the most prolific writer in She-Hulk history. I wrote more She-Hulk than anybody. That means, bro, you're responsible for this 33% audience score. Yeah, I mean, if the audience read your comics, what would they say? Like, if a mass audience read your work, okay? I'm not talking about the comic core. I'm talking about just the general audience out there. If they read your work, what would they say? Well, now we know. Now we know. And the show is so bad that Marvel has to stop what they're doing, right? And now they're kind of retooling phases 5 and 6, right? Like, that's hilarious. Like, nearly all of those new MCU shows had reactions ranging all over the place, with She-Hulk Attorney at Law and Falcon and Winter Soldier taking the brunt of the negativity. Right. Like, your show and Falcon and the Winter Soldier tag teamed to take down Phase 4 and all of the stuff that they put out on Disney Plus. That's hilarious. And this guy is basically, yeah, man, that was me. I know more about it than anybody. She-Hulk was one of the biggest reasons that Marvel had to scrap Phase 5 and 6 plans and say, man, we got to rethink what we're doing here. We clearly don't understand our audience, okay? Fatigue is set in. People are mad. And now, yeah, we're at the point now, well, we got to start considering some major changes, okay? We need to get probably some new writers in here to fix She-Hulk first and foremost. Don't you put your hand up, Dan Slott. Sit down. because you obviously don't know what you're doing. We took your work, translated it into a television show, and it absolutely got destroyed. And then he's sitting up here talking trash to the fans. I swear to God, man, these guys have no clue what fans want, what people are interested in. They sit in a bubble and they write for themselves. In his particular run, he had her karaoke, dancing, and partying so hard it was causing structural damage to the Avenger Mansion. Yeah, this sounds like a dumb character I wouldn't want to read. Okay? Oh, she's just a lot of fun, and we're just having a good time with her or whatever. I mean, this sounds dumb, you know? Like the stuff that I read and I remember from She-Hulk back in my younger days, it was far more interesting than this. This guy, he made a big mistake putting this out there for public consumption, and now he's absolutely getting destroyed on Twitter. Go check it out if you want to. But anyway, folks, what do you think about this situation? Dan Slott, I don't know who he is, never heard of him, don't want to know him, okay? But just jumping into the fray to defend his terrible She-Hulk run, because that's the run that created this trash heap of a show, and now he's getting butthurt and he's kind of call out the fans when the fans are like, bro, the show is just trash garbage. I don't care what you want to say, comic accuracy or not, your show is terrible. Go ahead and drop down in the comments, let me know what you think, and thanks for watching. See you next time.